Welcome to the Simply Be Found Huddle with Dean and Rob. And today we have our guest, Joshua Hall. Did I say that right?
Hale.
Hale, there we go. I was like, I just totally said that
Come on,
completely wrong.
Rob.
But you know, hey.
Hail to the chief, baby. Come on.
Yeah. And then if I would have said that, it was Hall, then you'd be like, hey, that was even worse. But you know, hey. So Joshua, tell everybody what it is you do and a little bit about yourself and kind of what to expect in today's conversation. And we'll base our conversation off that.
Sure. Well, I go as a holistic tech wizard. I love AI and its ability to empower individuals, businesses, small businesses specifically. And I think we're living in some of the most rapid change human history has ever experienced. So I really like to support other people so that they can be their best selves, learning how to responsibly use these new tools while also finding how to create income for themselves that align with their values. They don't have to sacrifice them for a paycheck, but they're able to live their best self.
Awesome. So do you work with a lot of small business owners?
Yeah, primarily, solopreneurs, most people that are online. I don't do a lot with people that have physical products, things like that. But they're the most adaptable to be able to, improve their businesses with their online presence.
So we do a lot with the small business world. I think AI has totally just changed how things operate. We saw this. I mean, our whole entire company started from me walking into Dean's office when he was a client of my marketing agency, which I know you've been in that whole world before. But it's one of those things to where I was like, hey, are you being found inside of voice search? And he's like, what the hell is that? Pulls out his phone, didn't get found. And I'm like, he was like, well, you're going to develop a platform off that, aren't you? And I said, yeah. And he goes, okay. And he kind of was like, well, I'm in. I think that's how that story went, Dean.
Yeah. Basically, kind of like Rob went, I had my aha moment. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And that was 5 years ago. And the world has changed a ton in the last 5 years with the situation with COVID, accelerating the digital world, and now the AI things. I'm with you. I think we've accelerated our knowledge base tremendously. Now the question is, how do you keep it in wraps for your telling your story about your business and your products and services out there?
I agree. And like I've said on previous podcasts, I compare this from the days of going from, the 14.4 modem up to the 56K, then cable got introduced and it changed the entire internet. Because you went from the voice search piece all the way to the AI side. So I think it's going at a huge rate.
Exactly. So Josh, how do you present your holistic approach then to small businesses? And I'm assuming you talk about AI. You're trying to talk to the whole ecosystem, if you will. And is it primarily marketing, or is it marketing and sales strategies? Or tell us a little bit about your approach to this.
Sure thing. Right before ChatGPT came public, I was running a marketing agency. I started and was helping dozens of small businesses, running a team of 8+ contractors. And I actually went out to lunch with a fellow marketer here in town, and he showed me ChatGPT for the first time, like kind of under the table, like, have you seen this thing? And I immediately saw how valuable it was, came home, signed up for it. And then because I was in my marketing agency, I had a dozen clients in different industries that I then was able to start testing it out on to see its capabilities. This was back in, ChatGPT 3.5. And it did hallucinate a lot more back then. But what I found was for business, it knew business really well because of all the information it was trained on, all the business, resources out there on the internet. And so I was able to start seeing like how powerful this was. And the real eye opener was when we onboarded a new, very large client. I assigned 3 copywriters to go out and do audience research and get the foundational information on that industry. They spent 3 weeks. They came back to present their information to the client. And then during the meeting, I went off to the side and went to ChatGPT, did my own audience research, came up with pretty decent results, shared it with one of the copywriters afterwards. I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And they're like, this is pretty good. They just spent 3 weeks pulling all that information together. And so I quickly saw the writing on the wall. I was then, able to jump ship from the marketing agency to be able to start working for myself. I found that I could do about 80% of everything with the help of AI. And then when I need to, I can pull in contractors for some, expert polish. But copywriting was never something I was very good at. So that was a big hurdle of mine in my digital marketing, toolbox. And I always had to outsource for those things. So now with ChatGPT, and especially the advancements in the last 2 years, copywriting has gotten pretty dang good. I always say, use a 10-80-10 approach. 10% is your input, 80% now is AI, and then you always come back to make it that human touch and oversee what's going out. But with the advancement of AI on the scene, I'm now able to help businesses out for a lot cheaper than what I was having to charge with the whole marketing agency and all the contractors. And I typically train the businesses on how to use this thing at the same time. I have a process called the Entrepreneur's Compass, where we go through that whole marketing framework that I talked about, that I used to do with my marketing agency. And what's so cool about it is, not only do they get the leveraging AI, on the strategy for their marketing, but they then end up with like a 100-page document that has all that information in there. And then I teach my clients how to just upload that PDF, and they can create any type of marketing campaigns that they could possibly dream of, because AI has, ChatGPT has that foundational information to start from that can produce gold.
Yep. Well, we do something really similar inside of our stuff. So, that's kind of what our whole entire coaching piece is based on. I saw that same writing. Now, what I do a little bit different inside of our approach for that, and what I've came up with from my experience, is I try to get everybody to produce a video and then take that transcript, put it into that actual, into ChatGPT with that. You can actually create that custom GPT in the back and build all that up as well. But if they insert that video in there, then it's their words. Because, Dean and I were talking before we hopped on this. We were talking about how the information that is out there inside of these AIs, it's starting to regurgitate itself. So you have to take your own words and put it in there to be able to get a good result out of it. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Good data in, good data out. My process is to have a Zoom call with either the business owner or their top administration to then interview them. That's where the whole process starts. And I walk them through that whole marketing framework with their input each time. I got voice to text set up, so they just sit back and get interviewed. They can talk all day about that stuff, but incorporating that organic wisdom that only someone working inside the business has, then leveraging AI with those frameworks, with the strength that ChatGPT has for creativity. That's what produces that big document. And for the last 3 weeks, I've been testing out ChatGPT Pro, which is a whole nother level.
Right. So
what do you think of Pro so far? Sorry, Dean.
Oh, that's right.
I'm blown away by it, and we can dive deeper in what that talks about. What were you going to say, Dean?
No, I was going to ask you if you're talking ChatGPT, or what is it, OpenAI who did that, I believe. And are you looking at any other AIs and seeing if they're kind of coming up with the same information for you? I know that how easy it is to get very comfortable with one particular platform. Are you starting to see some things on some of the other AIs that are out there as well?
Oh yeah, I test all of them. I probably have about an $800 subscription each month. And what's great is, I get to test these things out for my clients so that they know what the most cutting edge models are. Claude is my favorite for copywriting, and so I'll do all my brainstorming in ChatGPT and then go over to Claude for that final polish. And it can match your voice really well. It can match my clients' voices really well. So that's where I kind of use that tool. 3.7 just came out. I've been pretty impressed with that. It's helped me out with coding on websites, which coding is.
It does really well for that.
It does.
I was using a drag and drop website for my own brand. And I wanted to put up a banner on the very top for my new ChatGPT challenge that I was doing at the end of this month. And the drag and drop just would not make it look good. The padding was bad on both sides. I went to support and I'm like, hey, is there anything you guys can do about this? Like the control just doesn't do it. She was like, no, sorry. Maybe you could try this, paid plugin. I went to Claude and said, I need a banner that looks good. One shot, boom, gave me code, added it to the site, and it showed up like beautifully there on top, clickable, and with animation. I was floored. I was still talking to support, and I was like, look at what Claude just did. And she's like, wow, that's really great. And I'm like, you better have a backup job because I just spent 15 minutes with you and got nothing.
I just spent an hour and a half this morning, and I basically communicated with Claude back and forth, and I think I created an entire WordPress plugin to solve an issue that we keep running into on sites. I handed it over to my dev team. Now, they're all weirded out by AI all the time. So I'm like, hey, I found this in an old file piece. Load this on. Because I don't want them to go, oh, it's not going to work because AI. I'm like, tell me if it works. Make all those files come together, make it work, and see what you come up with. I'm really curious to see what it did because it's either going to be a big pile of crap or it's going to be absolutely amazing. And it would have taken us. I probably, for what was inside of there for the code that I watched it do, probably would have taken back in the day 3-4 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
And it probably still wouldn't have been to the quality it was at.
Right. Yeah. And for this to be able to empower individuals, that's what I'm so excited about because, business owners, they don't have any time to learn this stuff. Typically, they need to learn how to adapt these things and be aware of where things are. And you can't wait for academia to teach these things because they're years behind on what's actually the cutting edge things that are happening right now.
No, there's a lot of things that you can put into it to be able to get it to return back out. Now, what I did that was kind of interesting inside of there, and where I think Dean was going, hey, do you use any others? I actually just got done writing a program that uses Claude, uses Gemini, uses ChatGPT, and it uses Grok. And what it does is it starts to combine itself. And then so I'm watching on my other screen something I asked to do research on. It starts arguing with each other. And it'll take forever for it to process something. And we use it. I'm using this when I'm doing coaching with our members inside of the platform or inside of our dashboard as well, because I can take it and it looks at the stats. And then it can actually go out, and we have analytic tools that we created inside of our system for it would be very similar to what SEMrush was back in the day. Nice. Can pull those data points, can see all of that, has access to all those data pieces. So then it goes out, it starts looking at all that as well and going, well, I found this over here, then this one will find this. And it's like, all right. And then it comes out with that polished document, which I find is more accurate than anything because it just had a full conversation with itself.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, what you're talking about is basically agents, which is, rolling out this year. And soon it's just going to be humans managing agents as the skill level you need.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you guys tried out Chat Hub? Chat Hub is something that I use for my clients. It basically puts on the screen, 8 language models that you connect to, and you can give one prompt and they all do their output that you can compare simultaneously.
I haven't used that one yet.
Yeah, pretty useful for brainstorming and creative outputs to be able to just see which model's doing what.
But for everything that's going on right now, for all these things, you mentioned that you're spending probably $800 in subscriptions. We're spending probably that, if not more. It's kind of like this new drug addiction for marketers. I was going to say that earlier and I forgot to say it, so I'm going to say it now. Dean,
I got to be real tight. I got to be real tight on my subscription because they add up so quickly. I got reminders in my calendars for trials that I'm always in, and so that is an addiction you got to look out for. But what's great is that our clients don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah. So hi, my name is Dean. I haven't used an AI for 24 hours. I'm not trying to make light of addictions, but it sort of feels like you really get pulled into that real hard. One of the things I'm starting to see, Joshua, I'd like to see if you kind of experience the same thing. I've done research, done data points and things like that using AI, and I saw a shift in some of the data responses, and now I start to see a shift back. Do you think that AI is kind of polluting itself a little bit and starting to put in, because so many people is putting out so much data information now that they're getting hits, and it's starting to make a shift back to some old responses? Are you seeing that at all, or do you feel that?
Well, I think it was a big tell with ChatGPT's 4.5 release that they just came out with. I have the pro level, so I got it last week, and it does have a better vibe to it. And it increased its like world knowledge capabilities by 18%. So it knows more than it does, but you can really see that there's a plateau starting to happen of the capabilities of these models, which I think is perfectly fine, because we advanced so much in the last 2 years that like it's going to take a while for society to like come to realize the potential of current tools, let go of horrible chatbots that people have been using for the last 10 years that are not very helpful, and be able to just utilize where we're at right now. Now we have, deep research coming out. We have these reasoning models that are taking place. Like it reached a point 3 months ago that, these are models more powerful than I know what to do with all of my business strategy that I'm doing for my clients.
Which I think is a huge aspect to the whole piece, that we advanced so fast up there, and there's a lot of things that have not even came up to where it's even there. You could pick on even the big corporations, Amazon Alexa. It still hasn't gotten a really big overhaul. And if they put that, once they get that AI inside of there, it's going to make it so much more knowledge. But we've basically redid. We had a whole podcast on this last week, I think it was, but it was how things are basically just repackaged up, and the technology's gotten faster and faster to be able to go and deal with it.
And cheaper. Yeah.
It's so much cheaper.
Right. So really, like, adoption is like, I'm happy with the plateau. Like, let adoption take place. Let society and all of our, daily digital habits get caught up to what's capable right now. I'm totally fine with that. But meanwhile, there's things like DeepSeek, right, that are popping up out of nowhere, and especially open source capabilities that can still be really, disruptive to where we're at.
It can be. It's a security risk across, because there's no limitations on there whatsoever. I mean, China's not going to put the same limitations as some of the U.S. companies with what they do. But I mean, there's also some people here in the U.S. that I know are working on some major projects, and there's no safety locks on there whatsoever, which scare the hell out of me.
Yeah, I'm really big on digital privacy, and I think all of us need to really understand what this means in this day and age. We had Cambridge Analytica, 10 years ago, letting everybody know there's, 6,000 data points on all of us. This is now, multiplied. And what's different is there's now AI that can process all that data and be used for good purposes and for nefarious purposes. So I really advocate for having a localized private AI and a PC. And so being able to start protecting ourselves and our data, because, the internet does not, and especially with other models of other governments out there, I really think we all need our own localized AI that's going to protect us and defend us against, all malicious things from larger AI systems.
Oh, yeah. I mean, once it starts getting into the dark web, which I'm sure someone's developed that out to where it goes to the dark web as well, it's going to be a very scary piece. And I think businesses have to understand they have to protect their business data as well, and being able to put some locks inside of there. And that's kind of what we do with our listings engine piece, is we lock that data to where then it can't get changed, because with AI, it's out there. And if it thinks that it knows something better than what you've put into your profile, it's automatically going to update that crap. That's why having your website. And the funny thing about websites is 5 years ago, I said websites were dead. They're nothing but a business card. And then AI popped up, and it's like, well, that's where it's pulling all the data points from. So it's back. Here we go. Go for it, Dean.
Oh, no, I was going to say, Josh, you spent a lot of time with your clientele? Because what Rob just alluded to with the website, how important that information is. Are you trying to get small business to understand the importance of the website and that information in there? Because that it used to be, you talked about your business profile, you talked about being on maps, all these things, which are still important. But I think the website's gaining more value. Do you kind of feel that way as well?
Yeah, it's still, the business card, and Google's still ranking it. So you want your keywords on there. I help out businesses with Google and Facebook advertising. So you still need some place to send them, for them to be able to track the conversion rates when they land there. So it's still part of my wheelhouse as far as strategy goes. And now with AI being able to help out to understand your audience even more, we do a extreme deep dive onto a business's target audience so that they can really speak to them on their website. So the website is a controlled environment where you can cater the user's experience while they go through there, ideally getting all their answers or their concerns addressed, so that it's that online salesperson that can help with conversions.
Gotcha. Because Rob and I kind of lean more to the FAQ side, especially for the website. Are you kind of going that same way with that? What's AEO? Answer engine optimization.
Answer engine optimization. Yeah, it's AEO.
Yeah,
which is just another fancy word to say FAQ.
Right. Exactly. So
just with some schema attached to it.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I don't think I've ever met a copywriter who likes to write FAQs. So that is something that right out of the bat, AI was able to come up with FAQs, very early on. And so I think that's mandatory for every business to have on there. And it's never been easier to put up.
Well, and I think city pages have value inside of them as well now, especially if you're a service area business and you need to be able to target those different cities. That still has the value. And then your blog piece and being able to tie that into AI. And then social media, I think, is more important than it was 2 years ago. And those algorithms have changed as well. Have you been tracking any of that?
Well, I know that, especially in the last couple months, they're lowering their the algorithms so that people can be seen easier. So ideally, businesses that counts for them as well. The competitive pricing inside of Facebook and Google is still continuing to rise, but I'm a big advocate for being able to be seen through your copywriting and not just being vanilla, because it's like a rock and roll concert you walk into, right? If all these businesses are trying to talk inside of this concert, you really have to stand out above the crowd to be heard in all of this. There's so much content now being written by AI that you have to stand out. And it's only going to get more intense in the coming years.
Exactly.
And I think that's where it falls into the natural language.
Right.
Because if you just tell it a basic command inside of any of the AIs, if you just say, write me social media posts about roofing companies, and you take that generic piece, it's no different than the companies that are out there that I've always disagreed with that go, okay, we're going to go find all the roofers and we're going to write them all the same content and we're going to put out all the same stuff. We're just going to change company names. And if you're not bringing that natural language in and bringing real problems into it, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, one of the aspects in my audience deep dive research is coming up with the vernacular of your of the target audience, right? So you're actually pulling in their language, because businesses can speak all day long about what they know about their business, but it's until the customer or the client sees what they're talking about in their own language that they are, curious about it, for them to lean forward and be able to check out your website. And you need to be able to translate the features of your business into the benefits for the client as well. And that was always copywriter magic that I could never do. Right.
I can tell you how the human's going to read it, but writing it up and coming up with it, that was never my forte.
Yeah, so that's something also that AI is really good at is, I'll interview the business owner, tell me all the features of your business, and then we can immediately translate those into the benefits of their target audience, and then using their own vernacular, right? Being able to describe much more enticing on the website than just, I need a landing page for a roofer can get you on
right.
So Josh, I know that I'm sorry, Josh. Do you go by Josh or Joshua?
Joshua.
Okay,
sorry,
Joshua. But anyway, Joshua. So I apologize for shortening your name just now. Anyway, you talked about ads on Google and Facebook, and some of the things we're hearing from some of our people that are on that work with us. We're really into the organic side of really trying to be visible organically. And they're saying that some of the things aren't working as well as they used to. Are you kind of seeing that out there as well? I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus because there's a place for ads, but organic is still the best way to be seen, in my opinion, on searches.
Yeah, well, I've really doubled down on my own brand. So I'm testing out all these strategies on myself. And content writing, taking advantage of your email list. I've bumped up my newsletter and my email capacity to where I'm now putting out 4 emails a week. Still getting great open rates and engagement rates on that. I not having anybody drop off from too much. But from there, I've developed a process called year-round content roadmap, where I'm able to take what you're interested in, what your business is excited to talk about, and then be able to map out a full year's worth of themes for each week that logically, progressively go into the next, so that when your audience is receiving this information, it's helping educate them so that they're easier to, see the value that you're offering. And before all that is something I've been testing out called authentic marketing. And with how much AI content is going out there, being able to have a face on your brand and have a real person for the audience to interact with, I think is going to be really big in the coming years, because of how much, AI content and AI businesses are able to pop up, that people are going to be starving for, having a face and a human that they can trust to, do commerce with. And so I really teach my clients, to share your struggles, share your challenges, share your vulnerabilities out there, because that's what, a faceless AI corporation cannot mimic and will really fall flat on their face trying to replicate. But for myself, I stepped out into the limelight, right, when I left my marketing agency to promote my own holistic tech wizard brand. And sharing your challenges and struggles is very, scary. Especially on social media, when people are pretty cutthroat on things like that. And so I just developed a ChatGPT to help with this process, so that and I'm able to give this to my clients. But basically, you just hit record and you share, what challenges did you experience this week, right? Juggling kids, they were late to school, and then I had a client call who didn't show up, totally screwed up my day. You're able to just lay it all out there in all its ugly glory. And then ChatGPT is able to take that framework, that raw authenticity, and create a post that describes that process in a much more polished way, that's not just word vomiting or, complaining just to get attention. A lot of TikTokers do that kind of stuff. And it vicariously will, provide a positive outcome from there, right? Because I didn't give up, right? I still showed up and I kept going, because that's the life of an entrepreneur, right? And so the good outcome, and then on top of that, it vicariously promotes your business, your offer, whatever you're working on. And so I'm calling that authentic marketing, where you're able to put yourself out there in an authentic way. Again, 10-80-10. So I'm always, cleaning up what works out of that and putting my final touch on there. And I went from getting 3 likes on a post to, 50 likes on a post, overnight, just by sharing my struggles. People are able to relate with those things. And then they learn about, my 28-day ChatGPT challenge.
No, that's totally true. And I agree with you on that. We've done some of that testing inside of ours. And what we found is we had AI handling all of our stuff for chat and all that stuff. It was not doing things right. So we pulled it off because we didn't agree with the answers that were going out. And Dean and I get more of a reaction on YouTube, on any of the social media networks, because we handle 100% of the support that comes into Simply Be Found. And we're able to do that because we have a team behind us, and then we have all of our AIs that are behind us. So we can handle it and still be the face, but we actually get to read every message before it goes out and go, yep, we agree with that. And it's going to answer your problem, because as a business owner, when we're talking B2B, they don't have time to go back and forth. And you even get that, and they've had it with, people that are outsourced in other countries, even here in the United States, that just don't understand what the hell they just said, and they don't even answer their question. So we try to be able to solve that problem. But having a face on there and being able to have a personality, you can reach so many more people without having to do it. It's kind of like for B2C, it'd be almost like door knocking for a roofer or whatever you're selling. You're able to get in front of everybody, and it has to be real because there's so much fake. So real stands out all day.
Yeah, I like to work with somebody with boots on the ground inside of the business. If the founder or the owners are too busy to, train how to use these things, then, give me your salesperson or somebody, because, right away, I bet I can save you 4 hours in your week just by starting to implement AI into your workflows. So, and then using two of those hours for social media content and for your emails and newsletters and getting all that stuff scheduled out. With that human oversight, totally doable. I'm doing, everything myself for my own brand, as well as helping out all my clients just by carving out those 2 weeks or 2 hours each week. I do what I call repurposing, right? Every Thursday, tomorrow, I'm going to be coming out with my newsletter where I get to share, my personality and what I'm up to, and client, wins, and projects and things that I'm offering, as well as industry news I get to slip in there as well, and some cool AI tools. But from there, I get up early in the morning, I talk out what I'm going to be covering in that newsletter with voice, and then translate that to text, and that's my block. That's my starting block. Then I have a ChatGPT, a custom GPT that runs it through my newsletter framework. So then I'm able to, then I bring it over to Claude, like I've said before, and then, fine tune that copy. And then I build it in Beehive. That process, I got down to probably about 40 minutes. But what's so cool about that, now I use that organic, brainstorm that I had and the final draft of my newsletter. And then I can go repurpose it into, 4 Facebook books or Facebook posts, 3 Twitter posts, 2 LinkedIn posts, and a couple of scripts for TikTok in like 5 minutes. I can produce all of that, and it has this organic, data in through that process. So I'm able to then, 10x and cover the internet like a wet blanket now, using that process, which, I can get done in under 2 hours now, which, before would have been impossible trying to come up with all that stuff myself.
I'm glad we're not the only ones, Dean, that's doing all that side of that things, because I haven't talked to anybody else who is doing it. I mean, everything on this board back here is what you just said. So it's one of those things to where, I mean, there for a while, I thought I was by myself and I was the only one seeing this shit.
Yeah, because like I said, good data in, good data out. And
right.
So it's producing amazing stuff. And most people, 80% of the people that have tried ChatGPT, they're just going in there and saying, I need a social media post for my industry, and getting mediocre. And it's going to be drowned out by the, other 80% of the people using that thing. So right now is a real huge opportunity for AI education and being able to learn how to use these tools yourself, because you can save a mass amount of time, higher quality output, and higher quality blogs for SEO and everything you have capacity for. And I mentioned my 28-day challenge. This is something that I've created to help just the basic person just find a place to start to use these tools, because the most important thing is learning how to create a habit of using AI. We need to get away from going to Google first, searching for answers, because all those answers were paid to be there. And
right.
They're not very helpful. You try to go looking for a recipe, right? You got to go dig through ads after ads down to the bottom of the blog because, your time is being tracked, how long you're going to be on there. When you can just go to ChatGPT and say, I need a recipe for this. According to my diet, my family, I only have these ingredients, and it will produce, a decent recipe every time. So for my challenge, you sign up and all you need to do is copy and paste the prompt I send you each weekday, and to see its capabilities, to learn the habit of how these things, can benefit you in your life. Because until you see how it's applicable in your life, you're not going to understand like why I should be using this thing. So this challenge I found, I just got done with my first one. It was a huge success. And it's a great place for people to start. One of my clients brought his mom in, and so she got to learn, how to use ChatGPT in a basic way, and it was a lot of fun too.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
So, Josh, I heard you say 2 hours a day. Our small business people that are listening to this podcast are going to freak out.
2 hours a week.
2 hours a week. I thought you said 2 hours a day, but 2 hours a week is doable. But so many small business owners that are with us and listen to us, they don't have 2 hours a day kind of thing. And I think that was where some of the things were going on. But we estimate about an hour a week kind of thing, depending on what you're going to be doing. But that's more doable. But there's a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs out there that don't have a staff. They are the boots on the ground and that kind of thing. You're saying that our, what I'm hearing, and this is our process as well, you're confirming with us that this is a doable thing for small businesses to get the content out there for their business, correct?
Well, definitely first, like, you examine your week. Where are you spending those 40 hours, right? Because I guarantee there are ways to get your time back, either from proposal making to, sales calls, to writing copy for websites, to getting things, improved for your online presence. Email. People spend so much time in email. I use a service called Superhuman that right there gives me 4 hours back each week, just with being able to implement AI into my email system. It's just a shell that works on top of Explore or Outlook or Gmail, but it then has a built-in AI that, if I'm about to have a meeting, I can say, bring up the previous conversations with this person I'm about to meet, and it'll summarize everything in all my emails, of who that person is. It's an immediate way to, get back 4 hours that you can then use more wisely, as well as, finding other ways to automate your whole business.
Gotcha. So
and there's so much that's there. I mean, that's kind of Superhuman's kind of like Copilot inside of Microsoft's world, which I'm not utilizing as much as I probably should be. What were you going to ask, Dean? Sorry.
Oh, no. I just, we were talking about the automatic responses to like emails or helping you with emails to understand some things. I'm going to go down a little different road with AI responses, because one of the things I'm starting to see out there, and Rob and I totally disagree with, responding to reviews using AI. What's your stance on that, Joshua?
So if somebody asks you for a review and then
no. If somebody gives you a review, I'm seeing some people out there. Do you agree with that?
I'm gonna kind of do your question here, Dean.
Okay, go for it.
So one of our biggest competitors, Yext, which can't stand us, just came out. I'm gonna call it what it is. Just came out with a way, and there's a lot of competition. SignUp has the same thing, to where they put AI on autopilot, to where you don't even read the review; it automatically responds for you on autopilot. I personally disagree with that, because I think it's letting AI go rogue is a dangerous piece. But what's your take on that?
Absolutely, especially right now. Maybe in a couple years, like as we start managing AI agents, but you still absolutely have to be the overseer in what it's producing right now, especially as something as sensitive as reviews, because that is a crucial asset for any business, for people to build trust with your business. So, I can still pretty much spot any AI text that's generated out there because of the word embark used all the
time. which can be the AI can almost be worse than just saying thank you for this review, or I'm sorry you had a bad experience, which could be really bad because you shouldn't just respond to every review with the same response and a canned response and so for each one. You can use AI to help you respond to that review, and it does really well there, but you have to be able to bring your natural language into that, and you have to bring some personal spot, because if you just respond to reviews and AI does it, there's no emotion that gets put into that, for one. And for two, I'm not a lawyer, but the legal side of that, you're responsible for whatever the hell it decided to say.
You get a free car.
Stop on by. We got you a brand new Corvette.
Yeah. So,
well, and especially on that, reviews are a way or a mechanism for accountability for your audience, right? So being able to show that there's a human responding to the reviews that are coming in shows that, you know, you care, you're spending the time to get feedback from your audience. You're not just some, you know, some journalists don't allow comments on their, you know, pieces, which I don't think is very it's not allowing feedback or corrections to take place. So being able to have that open communication is an extremely valuable way to show that your audience, that you're listening, that you care, because at the end of the day, it's all about what the customers want. And if you shut off that pipeline of information, then you're making stuff in the dark.
So a lot of times for those articles that are wrote that don't allow the comments on there for news articles, those are usually paid spots. And I could be wrong, but I know I've bought them for people in the past to be able to have a paid spot in somewhere. I'm sure you have as well, having a marketing agency. That was a great thing for SEO 10 years ago.
Exactly. But I want to go back. Joshua, you said trust. That's a huge piece, especially, you know, with how we evaluate businesses and products now, and that trust factor. And I think that's a huge piece of that. And I appreciate you saying that, because that's where Rob and I are at on that whole thing, because it isn't like you talk to somebody and say, hey, recommend to me. Now we find information on searches, and we use the review process to see what this company's really like, or this business is really like. And, you know, as we all know, we can't make everybody happy all the time. So how did these people respond to a problem out there? So, and I don't think an AI is going to get it done right. I really don't.
You don't want it to be handling that sensitive, you know, process anyways. Like it can handle just about everything else up to that point. But, you know, as any business owner should know, that stuff is very valuable for the business's success. So
I think it's absolutely huge. And I think there's a lot of stuff that's inside of there. I like what you're doing, Joshua. I think that your approach to it, for the holistic approach, is awesome. We do some of that stuff. We kind of cross paths just a little bit, which we don't have them do it inside of the GPTs. We do it for them by request. And as part of that membership, you take it to that next level. So I think that we have a lot of members that would be really interested in being able to take it to the next level of doing the quotes, doing all that, because there's so much more you can do with that AI. So I think there's a lot of synergy that comes into that whole piece.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. Yeah, I really like to, you know, handhold and be able to help people out, because it's change is scary, and we're in this age that people do not understand. We're going to be living in a different world in 5 years that we cannot even comprehend from this vantage point. And the economy is rapidly changing, because there is going to be job displacement. Or AI, I like to say AI is not going to take your job, but somebody using AI is definitely going to be taking your job. So people need to understand like what's coming, and especially with agents coming out. Do you guys want to hear what I've been doing with Pro lately? ChatGPT Pro?
Yeah, let's hear about it.
Yeah.
So
I haven't pulled that trigger yet for Pro.
At first, I was like, I'm good too. But I was able to, you know, because I this is my passion. I threw the $200 at it, and I got access, and I was pleasantly surprised with the improved writing capabilities. The context window is much longer for the output than ChatGPT Plus. And so if you are doing blog writing or SEO writing, you're going to get a much higher quality and a much longer, thorough output. But what has really blown me away is access to the deep research feature, and being able to, what I was previously doing of audience deep dive, and then, examining your offers, and then a marketing strategy. I call that the Entrepreneur's Compass. I'm now able to add industry reports, competitor mapping, all real-time data that I've trained ChatGPT Pro to go out and gather all this information, all cited, kind of like what Perplexity does, but like 10 times more than what Perplexity is able to offer. I know Perplexity just added their deep research feature. I do use that. I use Perplexity Notebook LM to distill all that information. Then I go to ChatGPT Pro to process everything together to give me this like McKinsey style report that typically, I don't even know about McKinsey, they charge $500,000 for these like business strategy reports for trends, previous trends, future trends, what the market's doing. And I've been able to test this out I'm at 7 different industries right now with clients I'm working with, and they've been floored at what level of, overarching business strategy they can get with real-time market data, that then the marketing plan based upon that information is even that much better, because it's, understanding where the world is and where things are heading for that business. So I'm now able to offer, 10x more. And instead of charging $500,000 for these things for the first time, small businesses can afford these things, right, to be able to help make decisions. So they're not just, making guesses in the dark, but it's able to level the playing field. So these large corporations that are out there, aren't the only ones being able to make good decisions.
Well, that's a huge piece. So part of my past was I was bought. One of my agencies was bought out by a VC company, so a venture capital group, and that was my job. I went in, I did that type of stuff, broke down those analysts, and I still do that still to this day. That's one of those things I do for several of the major VC firms out there, is I'll break down all that. But now I use AI for doing all of it. Plus, I have all the data sets that are sitting there that I have access to from all the big corporations, which is absolutely huge. So one question I have, and you might know the answer to this and you might not, we have deep research inside of our Teams function for ChatGPT. Did they automatically take Teams and put it into Pro? Because I never looked at that. Because I didn't see Pro available on Teams, but did Teams become Pro?
I think that is like a cul-de-sac that you have to like back up out of. They're going to be rolling Pro into Teams level soon. ChatGPT, OpenAI, they've developed so many different features, and right now, like only half of them talk to each other. And
right.
So I think I heard in their latest update that Sam's going to be like consolidating everything back into like one cohesive program. So all these features can be available on all the different models, simplifying the models. So ideally, all this stuff gets much more easier to understand, because right now, it's complicated. You understanding what model to use for what purpose and what feature goes where. When can you upload a PDF? Because some of these larger models are not even able to do that.
Correct.
So I see things getting much easier on that capability, but Pro itself, might be worth, setting up another account just to test out for a month, because I've been pretty blown away from taking my interview process with a business owner, right? Getting their organic wisdom and data, to then doing my deep dive, marketing frameworks, and now leveraging the industry trend reports and the competitor mapping, and then taking all of that, going to ChatGPT Pro to process that in this McKinsey style, report. I'm dropping some jaws here.
So one of the things that was happening, and I want is on Pro, there was a latency on some of the data gathering. Are you seeing that on Pro, or is it more? I mean, you were looking at 3 months, 6 months latency on some information out there. Is this a lot closer to real time now?
I've hit 30 minutes of it processing, which it's cool to see, and it Pro doesn't have that PDF upload feature, so I do all my individual, collecting raw data, like the competitors and the industry trends in its own separate document, and then I copy and paste everything into ChatGPT Pro's context window, and it can hold 128,000 tokens. Just yesterday, the first time that I hit like, okay, this one's too long. So I'm able to like load it up with all this real-time information, hit deep research for it to do its own research on top of all that, and then it will take about a half hour, which is totally fine. I got 57 other tabs open to be able to occupy my time with. So I then just come back when it's done, and there it is. But small level tasks will take 2 minutes, and then the big guns, it's 30 minutes. And compared to Perplexity, which is like pretty useful for a quick research, it is still 10 times better with what it can output. And then I'll take it to Claude to check for consistency and any contradictions that it might have in its report. And it passed Claude's test. One area it said it was kind of vague, so I was able to just grab that feedback, throw it back into Pro, and it just fleshed that area out. And so been pretty impressed with what it could do.
That's pretty cool. How I think this is more where Dean was going with that question, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dean, but is the information inside of Pro more up to the minute on what's available inside of it? Is the language barrier there versus, I know sometimes, when we first started using GPTs, they were 2 years behind, a year behind, because they hadn't caught up yet. But now the time inside of all AIs are so much different. They're learning things so much faster. They're caught up to today's world. Is Pro more caught up than just the regular Chat GPT version, or is it about the same for its knowledge base?
So its data set for OpenAI is still, I think, March of 2024, which is ages ago. But they've kind of solved that problem. They've solved that problem with the search feature. So you just turn that on, and it's able to like go out into the internet, collect all that real-time information. So it's not just depending upon its data set.
The AI that I've seen that probably pulls the most recent information is Grok.
And I think that is the most powerful function of Grok. I know 3.0 just came out, but Elon Musk knew what he was doing when he was buying Twitter. He wasn't just buying a social media network. He was buying a data, harvesting.
There you go.
But is now able to rival, Google and Facebook, because that's, that's where journalists are going to share their findings first. So the most up-to-date current events, and it's constantly, updating itself. And that's why I downloaded Grok.
What I think is interesting about Grok, and from my research and playing with it for the last week or so for their new model, is the fact that there's so much information that's shared on Twitter, and there's so many links that instead of waiting for Google to pick up on it, and everybody relies on Google for all this data still, and it's not the right spot to get it because there's so much more data. I think that's where OpenAI does really well. It relies mainly on Bing to be able to pull that data in, but Grok takes it to that next level to where it's not waiting on search consoles to pick it up. It is picking it up real time because it got shared 2 minutes ago and it knows about it.
Yeah, the competition is, good for the users, and it's going to be really interesting. Grok 3 just came out, and they said they had better stats than O1, which was, 3 months ago on OpenAI. So the window of the competition is getting shorter and shorter. But again, there's that plateau taking place. So it's really going to boil down to user features, I think, and just allowing all this AI to be, smart AI to be integrated into society to figure out what's useful, what's not. Meanwhile, ChatGPT, their user, I have an image of their web traffic versus all of the other AI models out there, and they are light years ahead of everybody with usage. So, I think they got a pretty good dominant lead that they're going to be able to continue to ride through. They just came out with, Chat Gov and being able to offer, privacy protecting models to the government. So they're in bed with government, and that's typically a pretty cozy relationship once you get there. So I think they're still going to remain dominant.
Well, I think it's a matter of when it comes to the small business owner, and Dean, I'm gonna pick on you for this one.
There you go. I'm good.
I think for that that small business owner, it's a matter of putting the processes in place, and it's going to sources. It could be us, it could be Joshua, it could be whoever you decide to go to and want that's the best fit for you. But it's about putting those processes together, or listening to multiple people be able to put those processes in that have access to all the tools. You'll go broke if you subscribe and you try to keep up with every single AI out there, and use the processes that are created, because you're not going, if you just go to them direct, you're going to feel lost. You're not going to know what to do. You're going to get generic information, but it's how you input that information. So when I input information into AI is totally different than when Dean puts information into AI. Vice versa. I mean, he's not allowed to touch my AIs anymore because he confuses them. And next thing you know, it's talking about shit that I'll never want to talk about. I'm like, you ruined it. I have to basically delete it and start it over because you ruined it. You ruined a good thing.
I gave it a frontal lobotomy one time. It was like you forgot everything that Rob taught it, you know?
I'm like, what did you do? You had it for 5 minutes. But it's a matter of going through and putting those processes together, because it can feel very overwhelming. It can feel very confusing. And it's a matter of bringing all that into one spot, to where someone who's paying attention to this and talking to people who are paying more attention to it and bringing all the ideas together to be able to get your business to that next level. Do you agree, Joshua?
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's a very confusing time because most people, have always sought for the educated coming out of academia. They're way behind on this.
Oh, yeah.
Most industry leaders in AI are too nerdy to be able to describe this stuff to the common business owner and find practical uses. And so that's something that I really take a lot of pride in, is being able to speak to business owners to be able to simplify things with me testing them out myself and find real practical applications for them, where you're not going to really find that going out to large companies out there, or trying to, search the internet on how to use these things. You really need kind of somebody to guide you through this process right now.
So Joshua, you need a yin and yang like Rob and I are, because Rob's very technical. I'm classically educated. I'm a small business owner. Rob's had small businesses, but we look at things differently, and that's one thing that the communication to a small business owner, to entrepreneurial types, is a different kind of language than talking to an agency or corporation, because the structure is so different and the pivot points change so much faster with small businesses that you may have been with yourself for 30 years, and you get a new competition comes in, offers a new product and service. You've got to pivot with them. And I think that businesses like we have, we were able to talk to the small business owner in a different language and a different perspective than a lot of the big agencies do.
Yeah, and it's really important for people to trust you and to understand that they're in good hands, instead of, because my last client that hired me, they spent $200,000 on marketing for the last couple of years with these big agencies that produce no leads. Right. And so that's one of the worst things to hear as a marketer, right? That people are getting scammed on big money, and it's just destroying all the trust, that marketing can help a business. So right. now they've hired me, and they're having a lot of fun being able to, kind of from a ground up approach, building their marketing strategy, and now leveraging AI. They're all really excited about this stuff.
Yeah, because Rob and I talked about a lot of times with information out there, and you talked about likes on posts and things like that. The bottom line is that customer making that call and a sale. That's really the bottom line that we're trying to provide for everybody. And I think that's the small business attitude, is how do I get more people to spend money with my business?
Well, I mean, I've never had the bills paid by likes and views. I mean, we're not making tons of money off of YouTube. It'd be nice to have a YouTube check come in every month, but we haven't gotten there yet. But I mean, it's one of those things. So I can honestly say I've never had my bills paid by a like or a view. It's always been by someone taking action. So I really don't care about how many likes or views I get. If I'm converting, rock on. That means I'm hitting the target market, and I'm not having to spend my time weeding through all the BS that's out there.
That's right. Yep, because there's a lot of BS and a lot more coming.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, one of my famous stories to talk about is there was a roofer that was buying leads off of Home Advisors. And he was comparing it to the leads he was getting for us. He goes, well, I'm so much busier than what you guys produce with all the Home Advisor leads, which would now be Angie's List. But it's one of those things to where I was like, all right, let's test them. Let's go neck and neck and let's test them. His close rate was 1 out of 10 with all these that he's spending hours driving all over hell's creation. And with us, he was getting 2 out of 3 or something like that. That was just absolutely this high number. And it was taking less time. They were ready to close. He didn't have to compete against everybody else. And that is what doing real marketing does. You're weeding through it. You're getting to the right people, and it's able to actually get results, and not just all the BS that's out there making you feel like you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off that isn't going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, finding the gaps in the armor of your competitors and going there. Start there.
Yep. And Joshua, for our listeners that want to be able to find you and want to get more information about you, where can they find you? What's kind of your process and all that stuff?
Yeah, you can go to my website at joshuahale.io. That's kind of my parent website that talks about all the fun projects I'm a part of. If you want to work with me for business consulting, I have the EntrepreneursCompass.info website, and that will talk about, how I can leverage AI to help your business. And then the 30-day challenge is coming up at the end of this month, starting at the March 31st. Super fun. All you do is copy and paste, invite all your friends into this thing, because this tool is the most important thing since the printing press, since, electricity. And what's so cool about this is it will train you to train it. That's the first tool that man's ever made to be able to do this. So you definitely want to be checking these things out. I appreciate you guys having me on. This was a fun conversation, and I look forward to it.
All right. Thanks, Joshua.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Joshua.